So I messed myself up, essentially.
Serious question. Why do people like Majora's Mask so much?
Um,
Being serious.
being serious, I think it's
Yeah.
literally. So yeah, I know, you personally don't like the time mechanic, but everyone likes the Majora's Mask because of the time. Well, not necessarily because of the time mechanic, but the time mechanic creates a game that is incredibly deep, and not only that, uh, the concept of the moon falling creates a storyline that is dark. So you have an unnaturally deep Zelda game that's also unnaturally dark. So like Andrew Cafe from last stream, right? The fact that you have to wait till the last hour for them to get together, and their final words are, we're going to stay together, till the bitter end, basically. So, right. Or like, learning that the butler, or hinting at how like the butler's son probably died, how Dermani died to trying to go to Snowhead. How the elder is going out into a blizzard basically to try to feed his son. Just a lot of darker themes in this game. So, oh, why did I speed up time? I didn't mean to do that. So, if Ocarina of Time was an experience, like Majora, because of like I guess the world that it, Ocarina of Time is an experience because like Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask are both great experiences in their own right. But Ocarina of Time experience is like is very basic, I guess. Like it's a basic chosen one story. Save the princess, save the hero. It's a very basic story, but it's a very basic story done very well. Um, so it hits all the tropes. It's not bad, and So when you finally get to the point where you save the princess, it I don't know. It's an epic moment, right? There are a lot of good moments in that, but this one, having to kind of relive each moment, like when I lost the wedding mask, right? And I and the doors shut, and Tattle is just like, hey, you know, Cafe signed up for this. He kind of knew this was happening. Use your ocarina to get out. I left Cafe to die. Like, what? So it's those moments are kind of hit a little like it's that the time mechanic has a thing, but it creates for moments that can be a lot deeper than what Ocarina of Time created. So
I don't know. It's the time mechanic just
yeah, like right
it
now
does
I'm
it doesn't seem like it was that well implemented in the original. And you were saying a lot of stuff that the 3DS version fixed.
they did like in the 3DS they did fix it where you can if you play the Song of Double Time, um, you can be more specific about what hour you actually go to. Instead of now I'm sitting here waiting until after 3 p.m. Um, while I wait to finish the postman's final
That's
challenge.
kind of my point. Like that's what I mean by I feel like it was poorly implemented. Like
I,
that shouldn't be the case. It should be the way it is in the 3DS version.
well, yeah, yeah, and it could be that they probably didn't think about it at the time, then that's fine, right? That or they didn't. In order to create a game like Majora's Mask, think about all pieces of the world are have to be at a specific time and a specific moment, right? So it could be that the hardware just didn't allow them to be able to jump to a specific time, because that's a lot of processing power to jump to that moment in that time period. But since whenever night falls or dawn happens, they're already switching to a cutscene. It was a lot easier to implement. That's my assumption. Um, but
There is. Here's the biggest problem with Majora's Mask, though. Pichu's not in it.
oh, come on.
Oh no, seriously. Okay, no, being serious, I just don't like the time mechanic.
Yeah.
At least, I might not mind the 3DS one as much. It's just that seeing you and Bailey play for the 64 one just made me go, that looks so frustrating to deal with, you know?
Yeah. Well, it's a situation for people who love the game where it's frustrating to deal with it, but it's frustrating in a good way, right? It's weird. It's a weird moment because it's like time, right? And how it's like now, like yeah, I'm waiting, but I'm waiting because I know what time I have to be in there, right? So I'm waiting with the purpose.
Another problem with the game, it's very cryptic.
Well, that's because it's old Nintendo hard. That's why. So,
Pokemon wasn't cryptic, though.
Pokemon was different, I guess. So,
And I wouldn't say Mario 64 was cryptic either.
well, this came out in the year 2000, I think. So, oh no, probably no, it was 99. So,
It's just weird that it's so cryptic when
what,
like Super Mario 64 and other Nintendo games at the time really weren't.
I guess what do you mean by cryptic? Like,
It doesn't tell you what you need or what you need to do or anything. You have to kind of guess, it seems like. Like you just have to know.
oh well, I think that's a. I think that's just a. That's part of the design of it. Just being cryptic doesn't necessarily mean that it's a bad thing, right?
No, I'm not saying that. It's just that Castlevania was cryptic too.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it was just a Majora's Mask thing. Like Symphony of the Night has aspects that are very cryptic.
Yeah.
Aria of Sorrow is actually much newer. The game came out in like 04,
Yeah.
and it has some cryptic things that they. For example, in Aria of Sorrow, to get the true ending, you need to have 3 souls equipped, 3 specific souls equipped in a certain boss fight. And if you don't, it won't trigger. You'll get the bad ending, basically.
Yeah.
And the only hints you get are these 3 books that say this just give you descriptions of 3 different souls you have to get, but it doesn't tell you just 3 different souls you have to get. It just tells you. It's just basically meant to be a cryptic hint.
Yeah.
And that's all they tell you. I actually had to look that up because I do not know that.
Well, I guess think about it like this: what the most cryptic game that I can think of, or the most if you're going for cryptic, the very first Zelda was the most cryptic game because they literally just gave you a sword and then just you had no idea what you were doing, right? So
I would say Simon's Quest is more cryptic. I saw Krebs actually played through and beat the first Zelda on stream not too long ago.
yeah.
But he needed a lot of help. Like,
Yeah.
there's another friend of mine, Rose. She was in there, and she had to tell Krebs exactly what to do.
Yeah.
And like like you have to push like a very certain, like sometimes you have to push a very certain block in a certain direction to
Yeah.
trigger something and stuff like that. Cyber Quest had a lot of this type of stuff too.
Yeah. Yeah. So here's the thing. There are two main ways, and I'm going to segue, right. I'm going to segue to a different point. But there are two. When you're talking about being cryptic, there are two ways for a game to extend its lifespan, right? And to increase the enjoyment, and therefore increase the enjoyment of it. Um, One, you make and back in the day, it was either A, you make it harder, so that players are forced to master it, or B, you give as few clues as possible, so players are just kind of forced to wander until they figure it out. Um, and the thing is that uh, so if you're going with the B route, that's kind of like when I'm talking with this one, right? There's a certain level of enjoyment of discovering a secret on without anyone really knowing, or even if you don't discover it, there's a different level of enjoyment from discussing with others of certain secrets of the game that other people didn't know.
Yeah,
So there's that level of camaraderie and interaction that individuals have between each other discussing the game. So
yeah,
um, so that's kind of like what the first Zelda was. Zelda was wander until you've basically discovered everything, and Metroid is a lot like that too. Like Metroidvania, you could go around in circles not knowing what to do until you blew up a specific wall. Um, so, and I think now it seems for you that wandering around it doesn't seem to be your style of play, but I think
I don't
oh,
mind wandering around if it's like Metroidvania, for example. Like
yeah,
I played a lot of them,
yeah,
and I enjoy them. And those you often have to, you just have to figure out where to go. You get a new power up, and you're like, oh, I can go to this place again, and I can actually access it now. You know,
yeah,
and that's all it was. Things like, but things like those older games, you have to know something very specific that's not hinted at,
yeah,
and like I can't say it. There's like weapon and armor hidden behind breakable walls,
uh huh,
but there's anything that is major to the plot or anything is it's obvious you can destroy it.
yeah,
You know what I mean? It's obvious, and that's the thing. And in even Castlevania, you're like you just know hit every wall you come across, hit every wall
yeah,
because you know the walls are breakable. That's just even a Castlevania thing for as
mm-hmm.
long as it existed. You know, breakable walls. So you just know to hit hit walls to see if they're breakable. And in the later Metroidvanias, they even give you items that tell you where breakable walls are. But yeah.
Hmm.
So I don't mind doing that. It's just that some games are like cryptic to the point where I get a little annoyed if I have to look it up because I don't know and there's no way for me to know.
Yeah,
It's not. There's like things that you're just not gonna figure out, and that's what I don't like. It's things you can't figure out on your own.
I think
Or you know what I mean?
I think I can somewhat relate. So remember in Mario Sunshine, I spent like 2 or 3 hours trying to get. It was with that Yoshi sprite. I had to jump on a Yoshi, and I thought that what I had to do was do a specific jump over to a specific platform in a
Uh
specific
huh.
way. But what I really had to do was just use the Yoshi and spray the fish that was jumping from the pool. And there was nothing to indicate that I had to spray the fish. Um, and so I wasted 2 or 3 hours just doing that. Right? So, and it was annoying because I was trying not to. But So yeah, I do think being there is a level where you have to. There is a level where there is a point where you do have to do a good job of kind of signaling what is needed. To show the player, hey, this works at this time. But I don't know. I don't think this. I don't think this game doesn't real. I don't. I don't necessarily think this game doesn't do that. Just because all the characters are there. I think this game is just you just have to be patient, and sitting around waiting isn't a thing that's big in these times. So, eh, you know,
I played one game where there was a time mechanic, but even this game, that time mechanic is something for an extra item you don't need.
yeah,
You know what I mean? That's different to me than having something major walk behind that.
yeah,
You know, like Cynthia Knight, there's a clock tower, right?
yeah,
And there's an item you can only get if the clock tower hits 12. And when it hits 12, a door that wasn't open previously will open.
yeah,
But there's no way to ever know that or anything, but it was not important to the plot or to the game that much. It was just an extra item. So it didn't bother me as much, you know?
yeah. Well, I mean, if you look at this, like technically, if you look at all these masks here, technically the only masks I actually really need are these three. And then this one, but this one's inside the temple, so I get this automatically. Right? And this one you kind of it spells it out for you, like how to get it. So, like one
Yeah, but there's a difference between a specific weapon, like a very niche weapon, versus, a mask that helps you in combat and helps you get the fierce DD mask, the best mask in the game and everything.
well,
You know?
well, the fierce Easy's mask isn't required either. So if you're talking
I
about like
guess.
yeah,
I guess.
if you're talking about required masks, one, two, you only need 5 required masks to get through the game. And then items, you technically one, two, you need all the arrows and the hook shot and the lens of truth, and then all that stuff is
But yeah, that's not really what bothers me. It's just a time mechanic in general. Like,
yeah,
if I complete a dungeon, for example, I want it to stay completed. You know what I mean? I don't want it to just randomly reset because
yeah.
I rewind time.
I guess that's fair. And
Because I like feeling like I progressed
yeah,
and it did something. Like when you change an area like that, it's like, oh look what I did. I made this area a better place. Then it goes back to normal when you reverse time, and it's like,
yeah.
so I saved all those people for nothing.
That that does kind of frustrate me, but that's also why I have my arbitrary fierce DD's 4 quarters run where I try to beat all the bosses in the same 3-day span with the fierce DD's mask, just so I can have the satisfaction that I technically saved all of Termina, right?
Yeah,